Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar. We're back this evening for Match Week 8 review of the Bundesliga. Just myself and Mark checking in this evening. Mark, how are you doing this evening?
Not bad at all. Yeah, obviously enjoyed another fantastic weekend of football, especially the Sunday really this week. And good weekend of sport in general. Obviously, England unfortunately being knocked out of the rugby in agonising circumstances on Saturday evening, but it should be a good final of the rugby as well next Saturday with New Zealand, South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. Painful one for us English, and a great day for South Africans worldwide, the cricket as well. Yes, we'll gladly move on and talk about Bundesliga instead. So, we'll be doing our usual featured four this evening. Getting stuck in some fantastic games really over the weekend and some of the games that you might not have expected. But me and Mark always say this, it is often the games you don't expect shock and surprise us. Before we get going this evening, please do smash a like on this video, comment along whilst we're live or subsequently, questions, anything, we love to hear it. Thoughts on the Rhine Derby and how your team is doing. And of course, do not forget to press the red button and subscribe to the channel. Before we do get cracking with our countdown, just a bit of a FYI to one of our delightful partners, who, of course, are Bundesliga boxes in this instant, and that you can now get your Christmas Bundesliga boxes, which are available for pre-order right this second. So get over to Bundesliga boxes. If you want to find them on Twitter, I'll just bring up their tag there, as you can see on screen, or go and find them via Google and get on for those Christmas editions. There'll be some great packages and great kind of inclusions in there. So make sure you get stuck in and get yourself an early Christmas present, or one of your friends and family a Christmas present. So fantastic stuff. Right then, Mark, we shall start our countdown, and it's another week. It's another win, and we have to include the mighty VfB. And this is not me just chucking Stuttgart in just for the sake of it. If they're drawing 0-0s and things like that, they will not be part of the featured four. But right now, the run that they're on, Mark, and the way that they're playing is absolutely fantastic to watch. But I think this match was a game of two teams in completely opposite directions of travel, really, right now, particularly from a form context. So what were your thoughts on the game? Some good goals for VfB, and Union just look absolutely devoid of confidence right now. And if this was last season, you'd really pen this as a massive upset. But the way this season is going, it went to the form book, didn't it? And I guess the maybe one slice of real big bad news for VfB was the injury to Guirassy, but the fact that they were still able to see out the victory despite him going off in the first half was an important one for confidence going forward into the next few weeks. But thoughts, reflections on the game in general.
Yeah, I think it was another superb performance from the VfB. I've got to be honest. I think the first goal was a really, really nice goal. Again, that man, Guirassy, getting on the end of that fantastic ball through from Mio. But it was a superb goal. Again, something that we just expect from the VfB now. Like the kind of camaraderie and the teamwork in this squad is just absolutely superb. I thought, even labeling, I was a little bit surprised when he came in. I think the game before the break, actually, because he just came from completely nowhere really to start playing ahead of Silas. He was good again, although he missed a really, really easy chance, which should have made it 2-0 long before Union really got into the game at all. And they were absolutely dire in that first half, to be honest. I think their XG was about 0.12 at half time, which is just ridiculously poor for a team like Union Berlin at home. But I think, Stuttgart, obviously they missed chances in the second half. They made a few substitutions. I mean, obviously Fofana and Becker both missed great chances. Really nice save from Nubel as well from Becker, when probably one of the few mistakes that Stuttgart actually made, giving the ball away in their own half. I think a few guys deserve credit. Rouault as well, the young Frenchman who came into the team. Sorry, it was him who got the first assist. Sorry, not me.
He got the assist, yeah.
I thought he was superb. Another one that Stuttgart just brought in from absolutely nowhere, played really, really well in this game. He's another one that might potentially start to play more ahead of Stenz or fullback. You know, I think Mittelstädt, who made his first start as well, he was relatively solid. A couple of dodgy moments in the second half, but in general was very good as well. Then obviously Silas, good to see him finishing off for, you know, a relatively rare goal, but these goals are coming a bit more often again this season, aren't they? Like in the past. And then that man Undav getting the third goal, and actually got my bet up as well. That one, I had 4 games for over 2.5 goals, so I got a nice little €50 win or so thanks to that Denise Undav goal. So thank you for that one, young man. But yeah, I mean, obviously the problem for Stuttgart is Guirassy at the moment. I mean, obviously he is a player that's picked up injuries in the past. It didn't look too serious. It looked as though it could have been potentially a precautionary one when he came off on the half-hour mark. It is a concern, of course it is, when you've got a player who's scored that many goals, 13 goals in almost no time at all, you know. Of course it's a worry, but you know, Stuttgart are more than just Serhou Guirassy. You know, he's the one that's just finishing off the great work from the other players. And I do believe that if he is out for a few weeks, I don't think it'll be a real bad one, you know, that the thigh strain. But I think say he is out for 3-4 weeks, and I think Undav is good enough to replace him. I really do. I think, you know, he's already got 3 goals off the bench this season. He looks on form, as pretty much the whole Stuttgart team is. It's just a fantastic, fantastic effort. There's not one player on that roster who's not doing his work at the moment, including the substitutes. It's just great to see, you know. This is what the Stuttgart fans deserve after 2 pretty miserable seasons before this one. But nobody expected this, Rory. I'm sure you more than anyone. But what did you make of Union? Because they're having an absolute nightmare at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the stats on the Bundesliga website yesterday, actually, and just kind of trying to trawl my way through, you know, what maybe is wrong with Union and what is currently going wrong. And so Union this season have covered the second most amount of ground behind, you know, only second to Hoffenheim this season. And they've also had an average of 44% possession. But if we reflect on those kind of stats, which do stand out, we know that that's the case with Union. They don't have a lot of possession. They play that counter-attacking football, don't they? And that's what's worked for them very well in the last few seasons. And yeah, I guess they had over-reliance on times with, you know, with Becker and obviously Awonyi when he was at the club, and even Jordan Sibacheu when he had his, you know, good start to his career at Union. But we've seen that drop off. Even Kevin Behrend, his great start to the season, that's kind of started to drop off a little bit. So they have suffered in that sense. Obviously, the defensive side is obviously the bigger worry, I think, for Union. Seeing them ship as many goals as they are doing. You know, we've quite rightly mentioned the big high-profile Italian stallion who they've signed to what we thought would be shore up their defence and make it even better has not been the case at all. So, yeah, right now, Union, they've got so much football to play as well, being in the Champions League. How long that will last, you know, we'll see. And they just have to enjoy that as well. What an amazing achievement it is. But we have to ask the question now, you know, however long this continues, Union will have to start scrapping and get themselves sorted soon. They do not want to be involved in a relegation race whilst being in the Champions League. But if you look at the table, which you can obviously see on screen, and we'll look at the relegation side of it shortly, they're well down there. Their form is absolutely plummeted. They can't buy a win right now. As Mark kindly kind of goes down to it. So, yeah, for Union, it's big struggle time. You know, just the 2 wins, lack of goals. Yeah, it's just not quite going their way. Will they turn it around? Of course, I think they will. I think it will be more of a mid-table finish, go as far as they can do in the Champions League. If they can maybe, you know, sneak a third place, get, you know, thrown into the Europa League latter stages, that would be that would be decent for them. And, we looked at their signings and they look like really smart signings, and some of them have done well and some of them have not done well. That's the case when you try to bulk out your squad and you get and you have to do that because you're in Europe, and Union have been used to that only in the last few seasons. They're obviously not used to Champions League football either. So yeah, there's a lot of variables for Union. I'm sure they will get themselves back up, but for now it's quite tricky for the Berlin club as things stand. So yeah, big result again for Stuttgart, but right now it's just riding the wave and seeing how well they do without Guirassy. Just pick up on a few comments that have come in live. Good evening, Samuel. Mark looks very smart this evening. I can imagine Mark always looks smart. He's just come in from work. I, however, look like I'm ready to go play football, which I will be doing shortly. So yeah, he does indeed look very smart, Samuel. Evening to Ballum. Just seeing if Ballum's asked any questions. Let's just have a look here. I think there's one from Ballum here, so we'll just get to this. Could, for those listening on podcasts, check out Mark's Hoffenheim match vlog. Yes, absolutely. Check out Mark's Hoffenheim match vlog. Could this Bundesliga village team get top 5 in Champions League? Mark, what do you reckon for Hoffenheim and getting into Champions League football? Obviously, we can see that they're nestled in 6th place, but just a couple of losses, and we may well come to them very soon, actually, and talk about them. But their home form is what would probably be holding them back early on this season, particularly.
Yeah, I think it's just the defence. As you can see, 14 goals conceded in 8 games. They're great to watch. They're great going forward, and they've had a lot of great attacking performances. But defensively, at times, they look really weak, and that's what they've got to sort out if they want to get European football. I think Champions League is definitely too far, but I think Europa League is possible if they can sort that defence out. Yeah,
absolutely. Another comment from Samuel. The FCA win at Heudenheim was the big result of the weekend. Yes, me tend to agree with you, Samuel, and you may well see that shortly as we work our way down our countdown. Ballum's asked, can Stuttgart keep this up? Well, I think the big question is obviously, Ballum, how well do VfB last or do without Seru Guirassy bagging in those goals? Commenting from Christian S. Guirassy is injured, so I doubt they will keep it up. So yeah, interesting thought there from Christian. Fingers crossed they do. Commenting from Danny, obviously a VfB supporter and regular viewer of ours. Have high hopes for Undav. Yeah, what have you made of Undav, Mark, quickly, just before we move on? I also had high hopes for him upon us signing him. What have you made of him since he's come in?
I've really liked him. I really have. I think that double that he got against Cologne, which I think is the only game that Guirassy hasn't scored in, that was a massive double. That was, because that was probably, not the best VfB performance, but they ended up scraping a win that day due to Undav. I mean, that was a really nice header as well to win the game. Yeah, I think he's just generally looked good. It's not only his goals, he's not Guirassy, but he is a good player, and I don't think he's a bad deputy at all. If Ballum is correct and he's out for 2 weeks, so that's going to be 2 matches out, then I definitely don't think it would mean that Stuttgart are going to start losing every week just because Guirassy isn't playing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we shall see how he gets on. But yeah, generally speaking, really enjoyed his play so far. He's got good movement as well. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. So yeah, good start to our countdown. So moving on to our third most exciting game of the weekend, and a chance to reflect, Mark, on the Frankfurt sides who have managed to find, well, maybe some goal-scoring boots at the very least, scoring 3 away to Hoffenheim in a big win and a comeback win as well, after going 1-0 down very early doors. So yet another Bayer goal for Hoffenheim. Obviously, one positive maybe to come out of the match for them was his his finish and how he took the opportunity from a long ball from Baumann, being kind of one-on-one with his defender, showed great strength and speed to get beyond him and put a really cool finish. to make it 1-0 early doors for Hoffenheim. But Frankfurt found their way and, got goals back in that first half, quickly levelling through Marmouche, which was, it's a good thing Peter's not on the show tonight, I think, Mark, because his man, John Anthony Brooks, did not cover himself in glory, I'm afraid, on this one. A long ball over the top. For some reason, the American just says, you know what, I'll deal with that another day, and leaves it for Baumann. Neither of them go for it. Now Marmouche swoops in to finish to make it 1-1. And they took the momentum from that, didn't they? Another goal for Ansgar Knauf, making it 2-2 for him, sliding into the back post, getting on the end of a shot/cross. Let you make your own minds up about Chaibi's effort there, but really good from Knauf. And I'll come back to him in a little while as well. And obviously their big signing, Mark, as well, Elise Gahiri getting the third. More good play by Chaibi as well, actually. Some nice interchanging and they're a bit of luck, but it fell nicely for Skahiri to slide in. And Frankfurt held out, in the second half, a couple of chances for Hoffenheim. The free kick from Skov was a good save. And there's a header from Bulter as well, late on from a corner. But otherwise, Frankfurt did a great job. So again, 2 assists for both the goalkeepers, Mark, and that's the first time that's ever happened in Bundesliga history. What did you make first of all of Frankfurt and Marmouche leading the line and maybe offering a bit more than what Gankam has so far this season?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned a few times on the show, and in the little that we've actually talked about Frankfurt, it's mostly been on the prediction show that we mentioned Frankfurt, actually. But I have mentioned a couple of times that I think Marmouche is far, far better to deputise for Jessic and Gankam, who is, for me, just not a starting striker in the Bundesliga by any stretch of the imagination for any team, let alone a club as, that have had a very, very good period in their history the last 4 or 5 years, Eintracht Frankfurt. But yeah, it was a lot better, and he did, despite, as you mentioned, Joshua Anthony Brooks was absolutely dreadful in this game, actually. He really was. He'd already made a mistake before Hoffenheim got on the score sheet, and they only scored after 5 minutes, and that just seemed to basically ruin his confidence, to be honest. And he actually got hauled at half time as well. Yeah. And that's not going to be a 45 minutes that last long in his memory, that's for sure. But yeah, Marmouche did really well. He finished well, and that's what he can do, Marmouche. He's not always the most consistent player, but I do believe if he's given 5-6 games starting, then he can definitely score goals as a number 9 striker. And he did that. He finished well. And after that, I thought it was a really, really dominant and professional performance from Frankfurt. I think both me and you, Rory, had tipped Hoffenheim in this game, and obviously they started really well. By the way, Bayer is a player that I'm really, really enjoying at the moment. I think he's a stonewall cert to be starting for Germany as number 9 in summer. I really do. I think he looks class. I really do think he's not the most fashionable striker in the world, but those big gangly legs, they always manage to find, do you know what I mean? They've got quality, and he turns defenders inside and out, and he usually finds a finish as well. And, in his breakout season, he's already got 6 goals in 8 games. That is impressive, really, really impressive. But yeah, aside from that, Hoffenheim didn't really have the best day. Grisha Prömel missed a couple of chances at 2-1, which could have brought potentially Hoffenheim back into it. But I think, probably one of the men you've got to be mentioning is Knauf as well. He's had an awful run of form for over a year now, basically. But the last 2 games, he's finally come back into something and that's very, very timely for Frankfurt as well, because they've been really, really struggling up top this season so far. And I think this was definitely their best attacking performance of the season. I think, as you mentioned before, you've already mentioned his name, but I think that man Chaibi has got to be mentioned as well. He had a good game, a rare start for him. I think Buta looked a little bit back to his best as well, and Max, they were offering a bit more width than what we've seen so far this season from Frankfurt. And, things are looking a little bit better from them. If you just have a look at the table, they're actually up to 7th now, which they'll take after what has been largely an uninspiring start from the Frankfurt team. But I think things are just starting to get a bit better for them at the moment. Obviously, 5 goals in 2 games now, which is more than they managed in the previous 6. Yeah. And I think, obviously they've got Dortmund this weekend, and that's going to be a real big test for them, I think, to see if they really have improved. And, they'll believe they can run Dortmund close at home in this game in the Commerzbank Arena. And, I'm looking forward to seeing how that one pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, just maybe starting to find their way, particularly in front of goal. But I guess one thing that we haven't really given them credit for, because as you say, we've not had them featuring too much in the featured four, is that they've been very stingy at their own, as you can see, not many goals conceded at all. So we do have to give them credit in that sense. William Pacho, who's come in, Robin Koch, and other players like that. Obviously, Booter and Tutor, as you've mentioned. So that's definitely a positive to say. They didn't have Kevin Trapp for this match. They had Kraull, who came in, obviously got himself an assist. But made a couple of able saves as well. And so definitely some positives for Frankfurt to take. They will be a work in progress this season, 100% under Top Moller. And I hope he gets given time to kind of shape a new Frankfurt and have players that want to build under him and be there for the future. We all knew last season that there was lots of players who wanted out and they wanted new challenges, which is fine, but as a result, I think we're going to see a different Frankfurt side, this season. Right then, so I think that's game number 3 covered. So we shall move on gladly to our second most entertaining game of the weekend. And of course, it was the Rhine Derby, a huge derby, at the weekend. And it was a first win of the season for the hosts, FC Köln, as they came, they came over the Gladbach challenge via 2 Kynes penalties and a third late goal from Waldschmidt after Elvedi had given Gladbach a little bit of hope, into the second half. But Mark, this was, is an emotional, rivalry and derby. And it's one that, is well documented. And we've done our Derby Day diving on it, which you can find on the channel if you want a little bit of history behind this derby. But what did you make of some of the, the big calls in this match? Start you off with the first penalty for Kynes. I guess the main question is for me is that because the defender, and I'll have to remind myself, it was Kone, wasn't it? Was so close to the efforts. Is that mitigation, or is just everything given handball these days? It's obviously there's no charge about intent anymore, is there? But what are you feeling about decision number 1?
Yeah, I think again nowadays you've got to think: do I think it should be given, or do the rules say it should be given? And I think for me, I don't like this rule of very very close handballs given. But I think the referee had to give it, with the help of VAR in the Kölner Keller, which ironically is in Cologne as well, and helping their own team, so to speak. Yeah, but the other unfortunate thing for Cologne is for Gladbach is that it was right on the edge as well. It was I think it was very unlucky to give a penalty away for this, really, because it was so close to the edge of the area and it was just considered to be inside. If you're a Gladbach fan, you'll be annoyed, but you have to accept these days that this is universal in football now, basically. Anything that hits the hand in the area is being given as penalties. And personally, I think it's harsh, because I don't think there's much the young man, Kone, who's not played very much at all this season, by the way, could have done with that. But yeah, it was given and it was well dispatched by that man, Florian Kynes, for 1-0. And to be honest, after that, for the luck, I guess the luck that Köln had, they were very unlucky not to be 2-0 up, though, Köln, because they hit the post twice through Chabot, hit the underside of the bar, which was very unlucky, with a really nice header at the back post. And then Waldschmidt went even closer with a really, really nice strike from distance that hit the post, rolled across the line, and somehow didn't go in. That was brutal for Cologne. Because, that first half, they were brilliant. Actually, that's by far, far, far the best they played this season, that first half. And I thought they were really good. It looked like a Cologne side of old to me, that we'd seen in the last 2 seasons, especially 2 seasons ago and to a lesser extent last year as well. It was energetic. Waldschmidt was probably the man of the match for me. I thought he was superb. He was very, very unlucky not to get on the score sheet well before he did. And then, lo and behold, right at the start of the second half, they ended up finding themselves level for Gladbach, didn't they? Which it just looked like, no way is this happening, because the first half, Gladbach basically went AWOL, to be honest. They offered absolutely nothing. Cologne should have been 2 or even 3-0 up at half-time, in truth. And next thing you know, it's 1-1 through an Elvedi header, poor defending from the corner, really. And, that's been something that Cologne have done too many times this season. And then, Rory, I'll hand it back over to you. I mean, obviously, the red card for Kone, who didn't have a good day at the office at all, did he? For me, this is a correct decision. What would you say on that one?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with this. Going back to it and seeing the replays a little bit more. Obviously, everything looks worse in slow motion, and looking into in great detail. But I think Kone's challenge is not only is it obviously studs up on the higher part of the ankle, but it's late as well. So I think it's fair enough that obviously the referee Denise Eitiken, who's obviously a very high profile ref and is often does the bigger games in the Bundesliga. I think he got that one right. So that naturally made the task at hand very tricky for for the Foals. But yeah, after that point, the game obviously goes on. And then we get another penalty, and I think the decision around this in terms of being a penalty, I was fine with. But lo and behold, we have drama nonetheless with the penalty being taken, Mark, because it had to be taken twice. The first effort from Kynes was. It was pretty poor. It was a bit of a Panenka high up, and obviously Niklas in net just palms it over. But then obviously very quickly we go back to it after a check, and it might have been given by the linesman to start with, is that he came off his line too early. So what are your thoughts on this one, Mark? I felt that this one was a lot more harsh, and I was finding it difficult to agree with. But again, if you're a stickler for the rules, you say he's come off his line early, so it has to be a retake.
Yeah, to be honest, I hate those retaking penalties that are given. For me, unless he's miles off the line, it should just be allowed to stand, to be honest, because even if he's on his line, he would save that quite easily. And I think that should be taken into account as well. It was a woeful penalty and it was an easy save, to be honest. And they got massively lucky. I agree with the penalty given. I mean, again, a few years ago, this probably wouldn't be given really for like it was that Nicolas, the goalkeeper, who came out and kind of punched. I wouldn't say punch is probably not the right word, but he missed the ball and that ended up making contact. A few years ago, this wouldn't be given, but nowadays it's a penalty, definitely. And I think I thought that was correct, but he was literally like a few centimeters off his line. I thought that was cruel. It really was. And that compounded a miserable day for Gladbach, in truth. And they got lucky with that one, Cologne. They should have been well up by that point, by the way. They deserved the win, absolutely. But that particular decision was extremely lucky on their part. And obviously, Kynes took the second penalty away, no problem. And that basically killed the game and killed Gladbach's hopes. Waldschmidt obviously did end up getting his goal, which was a similar strike, obviously, at the other end. And this time it did just about creep inside that post, and he deserved his goal. Probably man of the match for me, Luca Waldschmidt. And he is the man that, he's probably the one quality attacker that they've got. I mean, Kynes hasn't had a good start to the season, and he's looking a little bit past his best these days. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's been around a fair while, I think. So he might be a bit past his best, although he did well to eventually get the 2 penalties. But Waldschmidt is probably the one of little quality in that Köln attack, to be honest. And if he starts to play well, like he did in this game, then, they might have half a chance. He's playing in a slightly different position. Traditionally, he's a number 9, but these days he plays kind of behind Davy Selke, who basically Selke's just simply up there as a battering ram, basically, these days. We know he's not going to score goals, but...
Well, yeah, that's very, very true. And obviously, Mark Oots was back on the bench. I'm not sure how often he has been back on the bench in terms of his recovery from injury. Maybe he'll get a chance to reignite his form, because he, the partnership that he had with Anthony Modeste was so great to watch, wasn't it, when they were both flying? So maybe they'll be able to get a little bit, more sharpness up there, but obviously they can't guarantee that with Mark Uth. But yeah, very well earned and first victory for Köln. Will it kickstart their season, as Balam's alluded to in the chat? And will it push them, away from danger? I think they've got an awful lot of work to do. It's all very well being up for a massive derby at home. Some of the fireworks and the pyro in at the home end and the ultras end was amazing to see. So interesting game there for sure. So yeah, absolutely excellent. And actually, I think it was well deserved for Köln, but I also felt like Gladbach almost lost it in a sense as well, which is what my girlfriend picked up on as well. So credit there for the comment. Gladbach actually had an XG of 0.11 as well. So Gladbach did not offer too much, and they've been behind in 7 of their 8 games this season, Gladbach. So they certainly like to do it the hard way.
I think you've got to question Sioani's future as well, to be honest, because I mean, it's not. Let's be honest now. I think for a few weeks now we've been saying that their season can go either way, but the last 2 results and performances just haven't been good enough. Obviously they've had the bottom 2 teams, Mainz and Köln, and they've only taken 1 point, and they were lucky to get that 1 point against Mainz as well. In truth. And I just feel as though Sioani, I like him as a manager, but I'm not sure the Gladbach's his kind of club. He's more of a kind of fashionable manager. Do you know what I mean? Sioani is like a kind of luxury manager, I would say. And I think Gladbach, they want a man of the people. And I don't think Sioani is that man. And I like him. I really enjoyed his work that he did at Leverkusen, but he's going to be under big pressure now after that performance against their arch rivals. And for me, if they don't win the next game, I'm not sure whether we'll be seeing him roll out for week 10, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see. The pressure will definitely be on that man individually. So the game of the weekend, as you can see, it barely fits on our screen. There was so much going on. So Heudenheim 2, FC Augsburg 5. Quite a comeback from the FCA. So Heudenheim ran into a 2-0 lead mark in the first half. Obviously, the first goal, set piece, whipped in by Bester, then put back into the danger area, and Kleindienst was there, like all good strikers, to prod in from close range. So not the best from Augsburg's point of view defensively, but really well worked from Heidenheim. And, they're proving that they can have all sorts of different ways of scoring goals. But then they doubled their lead seconds later. Really good work by the right back Traore to cut back and find a ball for Bester to really precisely find the far corner. Not a powerful finish by all means, just really accurate and well placed to make it 2-0. And at that point, Mark, you're thinking, it's going to be another great day for the newcomers, Heidenheim and Augsburg. Maybe are just not here, not willing to fight, even being under new management. After that, we got the first half comeback at the very least. I'll hand over to you for this, and first emergence for one of their new men in Tietz, because I thought he had a really good impact on the game and maybe his best performance in an Augsburg shirt.
Yeah, by far, I think. Yeah, for me, this was just classic. It was literally just classic Bundesliga, this game. I think, in any other league, you look at this game and you think, I'll give this one a miss on Sunday evening. I'll watch the David Beckham documentary or something like that. But not in the Bundesliga. These games often end up being the best games, really. And it didn't disappoint again. This was a superb game of football, really. I really enjoyed this one. Heidenheim, obviously, in the end, it's a poor result, but it was still they had moments where they were really good in the game. And as you say, they started brilliantly. Kleindienst's already on 3 goals for the season. He looks good enough to make the step up into the Bundesliga with a smart finish. And then Bester is just the best. You know, he's ready to be in my team of the season. If the season finishes tomorrow, he's in my team of the season, no question. I think he's been absolutely superb in every match pretty much so far. But yeah, after that, it was about Augsburg, wasn't it? And that man, Tietz, who, let's just say he was very, very underwhelming in the 3 or 4 games he played before this one. But, you know, he got the deflected goal, which got Augsburg back into it. This was woeful defending, by the way.
Yeah,
you know, like off the corner, he's left in acres of space, and he just volleys it in via the deflection. Heudenheim have got to, for all the good attacking play, they've got to tighten up at the back because they are conceding too many goals, and that is a concern, definitely. But the goal of the match, really, after that, wasn't it? And it was good play again from Tietz, and he laid it off to Pedersen, who also hasn't had the best start to the season himself, who, you know, curls with the outside of his boot, an absolute beauty past Müller. My favourite finish, that one as well. Yeah, the outside curler with the left foot. It was a really nice finish. And at that point, you know, the celebrations from the Augsburg team, you saw a lot of team spirit that we'd not been seeing for quite a while in Augsburg, actually. And, you know, obviously Enrico Maasen's, the end of his tenure was nothing short of a disaster, really, in many ways. But what Jess Thurup has done over the international weekend, he's instilled a belief into these players, and they look like they enjoyed the game, to be honest, you know. And they scored another good goal as well, despite, let's be honest, woeful goalkeeping from Müller, who, I'll be honest, hasn't really impressed me that much since he made the step up after a long, long career in the second league. He doesn't look Bundesliga standard, unfortunately, so far, but there's still time to change that. But obviously, it was well finished by far Augsburg's best player, Demirovic, who's barely put a foot wrong all season, despite Augsburg's underwhelming form before this game. Then the second half, you know, obviously Heidenheim, a couple of hard chances, but I think that the 4th goal was lucky, basically. It was just pure luck. It was, again, poor defending. It was. Udukai, he didn't know anything about it. Basically just hit him, and Bester, for all his good attacking, couldn't quite keep it off the line in this case. And that was pretty much the game at 4-2. Then, obviously, another handball penalty. We seem to see so many of these, which was really, really well tucked away by Rex Bahai. And, yeah, it was a big win in the end for Augsburg. And, you know, an ironic thing, it's been just over a year. This was the 17th. They'd gone 16 away games without a win, Augsburg. Wow. They were about to go a whole season, 17 games without an away win. And they managed to stop the rot with this fantastic away win against local rivals, Heidenheim, as well. So, you know, it was a great atmosphere again, good crowd, good number of away fans from Augsburg. And this was just a real Bundesliga feast to end what was a really exciting weekend. And, you know, I think we're looking forward. I think both of these teams should be good enough to retain the status in the Bundesliga. You know, I mean, Enrico Maasen was a very, very defensive coach, I'll be honest. He never really unleashed that attack at times for me for Augsburg. And, you know, the likes of Tietz and Demirovic, there are goals in this team, you know, and if you can just find a bit more coherence defensively, then there is enough to stay up in this Augsburg team. And another thing I've got to say that credit for is that he actually got something out of the fullbacks as well, which is something that Enrico Maasen was never able to do. They were always very, very weak at fullback, Augsburg. And Pedersen had his best game, probably that I've ever seen him in an Augsburg shirt, to be honest. Yep. And credit to him for that. You know, there's belief, you know, they go back into a home game where they're usually strong next week. And, you know, there's belief that Augsburg can still have a decent season. Yeah. As for Heidenheim, I believe they'll stay up definitely despite this result. But they've just got to tighten up defensively. And to be honest, the goalkeeping situation is a bit of a concern for them because, let's be honest, Müller, he doesn't save very much, does he, Rory?
No, maybe not. I mean, what is it with the name Müller? And being a goalkeeper. Good old Flo Müller as well, of course. As you say, some good points around Augsburg. Unleashing their goal scoring beast. I think, you know, the game could have been really interesting if that Maloney chance had gone in for Heidenheim at 3-2, to the chance to make it 3-3. It in fact changed the score from 3-2 to 3-3 on Sky Sports because it hit the side netting. It looked like it went in. They changed it straight away to 3-3. So I thought it was a bit of a strange reaction, him like kind of holding his hand and screaming because it looked like he'd scored. So yeah, if that went to 3-3, I think that would have been a really interesting game from there on in. But yeah, as you say, the Udukai goal was it was a bit lucky in terms of how it went in. But as you say, Mark, Heudenheim, they've got to tighten up defensively, from open play crosses, set pieces, as good as they are from the attacking point of view of them from set pieces, they've scored half their goals from set pieces this season. So it just goes to show that they have got different ways that they can score goals, but it's quite easy to get them back against them, which means they're an absolute delight to watch, as you say, and Bester and everyone else within the team are making a real good go of it. But yeah, maybe just tightening up a little bit would be a little bit more advisable. So yeah, some interesting games to cover there. So obviously, with no Peter here tonight, we'll just kind of go over the best of the rest in slightly more detail this evening, just to kind of cover everything else that did happen this weekend, because there were goals aplenty in lots of the other matches. So we'll just spend maybe about 10 minutes on these games and finish up on about 50 odd minutes this evening. So Mark, this game was almost in our top four. So coming to the Leverkusen victory against Wolfsburg, which obviously promised to be a really, really interesting match, but it was one that Leverkusen impressively came through thanks to yet another goal for Jeremy Frimpong, who was, really ably set up by Boniface again, just showing, the class of the man. Really nice cross and him getting on the end of it. But there were still chances for Wolfsburg in this match, and eventually they got themselves back level through a pretty scrappy goal through Maxence Lacroix. Good to see him on the score sheet. And then maybe the turning point, but seeing Florian Wirtz subbed into the game on the hour mark 2 minutes later. He's not really involved in the goal because it's great play from Frimpong to set up his best pal, the other flying fullback Grimaldo, who smashes in yet another goal. And it's enough to get them over the line. Frimpong maybe should have had another goal as well. And there's two big chances right at the end for Meyer as well, Mark. So just quickly, as we're reflecting on these, another big win for Leverkusen as they go from strength to strength.
Yeah, you're running out of superlatives to describe them, to be honest. I just think they're such a good team. And as I've mentioned before, I think if Leverkusen are going to drop points, it's going to be in these games after all these many, many international breaks that we have these days. And this was a tough fixture, to be honest, to come into. And I thought, Wolfsburg are hit and miss. They're not a perfect team, but they've got quality, especially individual quality in the team. And obviously the fact that Adli started ahead of Wirtz, which is always a bit of a worry. As good as Adli is, you still want Wirtz out there, and he proved the difference in that second half for me as well. Again, but it's very difficult when you've got so many international players. I mean, Wirtz played in the US 2 games this week. It's tough, And obviously Palacios down in South America. They had Boniface in Africa. It's really hard when you get all those players coming from all over the world. And this was a big win, more so because of the fact that a lot of the players have played all over the world in the last 10 days or so. And I think I was impressed with them. They deserved the win, Yeah, what more can you say? Grimaldo is just turning out to be possibly, along with Boniface and many others, to be honest, he turned out to be signing of the season in this Leverkusen team. And, more good management as well from Alonso to turn it. And Stanisic made his first start as well, on loan from Bayern. That was an interesting one. He, proves that they've got strength and depth in the team. And it wasn't the best performance this season, but it was good enough to be a strong Wolfsburg team.
Yeah. And Stanisic is starting, but you have to also say that Hincapié is not even ahead of him. That's quite interesting, I thought, for me, because obviously the back three has been Tar, Tapsoba and Kosanu so far. And then you throw in, as you said, Stanisic, you still got Hincapié to bring in. So
Crazy,
interesting because Hincapié was one of their better players last season as well. And, really sought after this window. So interesting one there. What else did we have? Friday night football, a close run thing as BVB got themselves an important win. Still not firing on all cylinders, Dortmund, but just a bit of quality from Emre Can and Julian Brandt, enough to get them over the line. Fair play to Werder. Blocked as many shots as they could do, but not enough quality at the right end. And of course, Füllkrug playing against his old team. Another important win for Freiburg, just starting to get themselves going, as you can see in the table, starting to climb upwards. Obviously Bochum going ahead through a super effort from Pacienza. If you've not caught any highlights, make sure you catch that goal. Along raping diagonal is volleyed in by Pacienza past Atubalu in net for 1-0. But Freiburg, through the quality of Grifo, got themselves back level through Ritsu Doan's header, and then the penalty, which he converted against Baumann. And that was enough to get Freiburg over the line. And then Darmstadt as well gave RB Leipzig a good run for their money, but 2 goals for Luis Openda, getting the earliest goal of the Bundesliga season so far. Inside a minute, got Leipzig off to a good start in Darmstadt, and that settled them down. Some more rather notable suspect goalkeeping as well, Mark, for the Emil Forsberg goal. We're not picking on goalkeepers, but that probably wasn't the best bit of goalkeeping I've ever seen. But it was an open and well-fought game, I thought, this one from Darmstadt. And it was obviously brought to an end by Openda. But it was a spirited display from Darmstadt, and they can definitely take plenty from that. And then, of course, Bayern's victory over Mainz. And for the first time in Mainz's history, they've gone the first 8 games of the Bundesliga season without a win. Mark, concerns for Mainz. We gave them a bit of credit before the international break. They weren't, necessarily never going to beat Bayern or be expected to beat Bayern, but there's going to be some crunch games coming up for Mainz in the next few weeks, aren't there?
Yeah, I think it was a brutal fixture test as well, because just after the best performance of the season by a country mile when they played Gladbach before the break, and they were unlucky not to win. You come into a home game and you want a Bochum or a Heudenheim or a Darmstadt, and who do they get? But they get Bayern at home. So yeah. I thought they played well. It was a good performance from them, but again, it was the start. As so often happens in these games, teams just don't start off quickly enough against these top sides, and they were already 2-0 down before they basically got out of the dressing room. So did they play well, or they had chances at 2-1, and it was a good performance. I still think Mainz will stay up. I really do. I just hope they stick with Bo Svensson. But I mean, this weekend is the battle of the 2 winless teams as well. It's both and Mainz. I mean, that is, if you want a Bundesliga basement battle, that's it. On Friday night as well. God, it's always the best match of the week, the Friday night game. And that is going to be a brutal atmosphere. And Mainz have got to find a way to at least get a point and preferably a win from that. It's not going to be easy at the Vonovia, because, Bochum are probably in even more trouble, in truth, than Mainz, because they've not got as much quality as this Mainz team. Gruder looks pretty good still. He had another good game. And
really
there's belief that there's enough quality, but there's too many players. Like Ajorque has just gone missing the whole season, and it's sad to see. I can only imagine that there's some kind of mental problems there, because he was so good last season, and it's sad to see, but he's just been AWOL for most of the season, bar maybe 1 or 2 games. And, the defence is poor at the moment as well. Vandenberg has not done it, obviously replacing Hack. Obviously a big loss for them. Vandenberg was seen as a good signing on paper, but he's not really carried in his good form from Schalke last season over to Mainz. I hope they stay up, because I think everyone has a bit of a soft spot for Mainz, but they need that win in the next 2 games, and that's, I think, unfortunately, we're going to see the end of the Bo Svensson era if they can't get a win in the next 2, because you can't keep waiting. Do you know what I mean? You can't keep waiting. Sometimes every good thing has to come to an end, as they say, and I think if they don't win one of the next 2, then again, the same as Sioane, I think that'll be the end of a great manager in Mainz, I think.
We shall see. Yeah, so yeah, we'll gladly bring the show to a close this week then. Yeah, been really nice to reflect and enjoy some really great games, some big talking points, and we press on. So we look forward to you joining us on Thursday night for a prediction show. The fantasy show should also be back this week, so make sure to check that out on Friday morning. So yeah, thank you for all joining us this evening, for questions and comments. Quick reminder back to the Bundesliga boxes, Christmas edition boxes, now currently available for pre-order right now. So get yourselves an early Christmas present for yourself or for a loved one, and go over to the Bundesliga boxes website or find them on Twitter at Bundesliga boxes. And I shall now gladly hand over to Mark to close up for this evening.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you saw, then don't forget to follow us on X. I guess we have to call it X nowadays. At Over the Bar FB, Out of the Bar Extra. And if you want to follow Rory as well, Village Football 20. Unfortunately, I don't have Twitter at the current time, but yeah, you can follow Rory on behalf of both of us. And then, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. You know, we're continuing to grow more and more, and we've got more and more content out there for you guys as well. Thanks for the good support as well today. Thanks for your questions, and hopefully we got round to enough of them as well. So we'll see you again on Thursday for the prediction show ahead of week 9 and another good weekend of Bundesliga action. So have a good week, guys, and see you then.